Sounds perfect to me. There's no point unless we both go all out, so come at me with everything you have. From the position that I had fallen back to, I wasted no time in sending an order to Clotho through the follower network. As a knight, shouldn't you have charged at me straight away instead of backing up? HMPH, wasn't that distance just now disadvantageous for you? Wow, thanks for your consideration. I threw Wind Shot, the shotgun version of Wind, at Gerard as an opening move. The idea was that a blanket attack, rather than a precision one, would be harder to avoid. Several blades of wind split into several dozen more while approaching the knight, but a single sweep of his greatsword repelled them all. The blades of wind that had been diverted from their original trajectories ended up ripping apart the ceiling, walls, and ground instead. Taking advantage of the moment Gerard was occupied, Clotho shot out 4 tentacles from a position diagonally behind him. It was the same attack that Raji had been entirely powerless against, further enhanced by an agility boost from the Sonic Boots spell. HMPH. What? My jaw dropped in astonishment. Gerard had taken 2 of the tentacles head-on, then used his left hand to grab the third one and stomped the last one into the ground with his right foot. With that, he had fully captured Clotho, who couldn't break free due to their significant difference in strength. Does this guy have eyes in the back of his head or what? Gerard possesses the mind's eye skill. Think of it as something that enhances his situational awareness and reflexes. So half-assed attacks aren't going to work against him? That's annoying. But right now, Clotho is in danger. Buddy, I'm going to cast an earth rampart separating you from him. After giving Clotho a heads up through the follower network, I materialized an earth rampart just as I'd said I would. The tentacles restrained by Gerard were instantly severed, but as long as Clotho's core was unharmed, it didn't matter. Furthermore, go for it. The parts of Clotho that remained in Gerard's possession began to move all on their own, tightly wrapping around the hand and foot that had been holding them. In a split second, they were enveloped in a red light and then exploded. After defeating Raji, Clotho had leveled up, consequently earning enough SP to acquire Division, a skill that enabled the slime to remotely control unattached pieces of itself at will. The severed parts still had access to Clotho's storage, which meant they could be triggered to self-detonate by a bit of the slime's stored-up magic. Ha, that slime of yours sure has a large bag of tricks. The moment I grabbed it, I felt it sucking up my magic. And now this self-destructive attack makes it hard for me to get close. In spite of Gerard's grumbling, I got the impression that he was having fun, although I couldn't see his face behind the visor. His black gauntlet was a little bent from Clotho's explosion, but it was far from enough to affect his sword-wielding abilities. As thanks for showing me something interesting, how about I show you my swordsmanship too? Gerard lifted his greatsword above his head before bringing it down in my direction. What was that bullshit about showing me his sword? It's almost as tall as he is and yet he swung it so fast I couldn't see jack. Jump to the side right now. Hearing the uncharacteristic alarm in Melfina's voice, I immediately leapt sideways. A sharp, heavy thud rang out a split second later. You serious? The ground where I had been standing only an instant before had been split open. That bastard sent a flying slice from his sword? Impressive. To dodge a Jito the first time you see it, you really are good. It's invisible and at that speed? You've gotta be kidding me. I had managed to evade Gerard's attack in the nick of time, but if I hadn't, I would have been cloven in two. Thanks for watching out for me, Melfina. Before my opponent had time to make his next move, I cast Cleft Chasm. With Gerard at the center, cracks ran swiftly through the floor until the ground suddenly collapsed beneath him. Even the powerful knight proved incapable of maintaining his footing as the earth itself gave way. However, I could see the razor-sharp eyes behind the slits in his visor still focused steadily on me. In that brief instant, although struggling to maintain his footing, Gerard threw out another invisible flying slice attack, not at me, but at where he thought Clotho was located behind the earth rampart. Are you kidding? He managed that even while totally off balance? Like a knife cutting through butter, Gerard's attack slashed through the earth rampart like it was nothing, with such force that it left a mark on the far side of the room. The slime's gone? Exclaimed Gerard at the same moment that a sword stabbed up through the collapsed floor and pierced his abdomen. It was the mithril sword that had previously belonged to Cashel. Clotho had slipped through the cracks in the ground with its malleable body, then taken the sword out of storage and shot it out. Despite Gerard possessing mind's eye, the attack had come from a blind spot and was so completely unexpected that it successfully caught him by surprise. At almost the same time, Clotho also shot 3 spears at Gerard's chest, which it had formed by compacting a significant part of its own body. The knight managed to deflect Clotho's follow-up attack, brandishing his sword with almost godlike speed. Clotho, his attack foiled, ended up being the one who took damage from the exchange. He really is amazing, I marveled. We had disrupted his footing, launched surprise attacks at him, and caught him off guard. And yet, he had managed to handle almost everything we'd thrown at him. However, this is checkmate, I yelled. Having overextended himself with the counterattack, Gerard was finally left defenseless. I poured every last drop of my remaining MP into an air pressure cast. Wah! A column of air came from above and crashed down onto the knight with several dozen times his own weight, rendering him completely immobile. The mithril sword that was still stuck in his abdomen did him no favors either. Just the achievement of having successfully parried Clotho's follow-up attacks was already worthy of commendation. Clotho, shoot him with your entire stock of magic. Clotho's body instantly shape-shifted into what looked like a dragon's gaping maw. Then the most powerful attack that it was capable of was unleashed. Mortality Beam. The ray of energy that erupted from Clotho's open mouth pierced through Gerard, pulverized the ancient castle walls, and disappeared somewhere into the distant skies. Drink sometime, I'd love to hear your secret to success. Sniff. The Black Spirit Knight killed one of my companions. Thank you for avenging her. Being showered with praise certainly felt good, but seeing as the Black Spirit Knight in question was currently inside my head, it was hard to accept all the thanks being thrown my way. Please cut me a break, my king. I still hadn't regained my sapience back then. A small part of me was doubtful, but I decided to look at things from Gerard's perspective. It wasn't like he could just stand still and not retaliate against adventurers who'd come specifically to kill him. To his credit, Gerard had done nothing to me until I had entered and made it halfway across the room. By the way, man, how did you defeat Cashel? He was rank D, but his strength was more like C, or maybe even a low B, wasn't it? Asked one of the adventurers out of the blue. Cashel and his lackeys had been free to do as they pleased, in spite of being obvious criminals, simply because they had been the most powerful people in all of Parth. No one could lay a hand on them. Luck was just on my side, I replied evasively. After handling the other adventurers for a while, I eventually slipped away and headed up to the second floor. Knock, knock. I heard a, "Come in," from the other side of the door in response. Excuse me. When I stepped into the room, an older man, who seemed the perfect gentleman, welcomed me from the seat behind his desk. Welcome, welcome. So you're this Kelvin Kuhn that I've heard so much about. Yes, I am. What a pleasure it is to finally meet you. Ah, where are my manners? I am Rio, Guildmaster of the Parth branch of the Adventurers Guild. Raising a hand to his monocle, the man who introduced himself as Rio had a kind-looking face that gave off the impression of a good-natured grandfather. I returned the greeting in a polite manner, but was actually quite flustered inside. Ah, I'm definitely busted. Shit, the jig's up. I all but threw up my hands internally. The reason for my sudden dismay was a certain skill that I had seen when using Analyze Eye on Rio a moment before. Analyze Eye, rank A. For the first time since I'd come to this world, my stats were fully exposed. What wonderful weather we're having today. Isn't it perfect adventuring weather for you? Oh, I couldn't agree more. In fact, I really want to be out adventuring right this moment. Ha ha ha, being passionate about your work is good and all, but sometimes slowing down and getting some rest will do wonders for your body. I snickered. Weren't you the one who brought up this topic, Guildmaster? The content of our conversation might have sounded quite normal, but the atmosphere in the room was anything but. If Ange-san had made the mistake of walking in at that very moment, she would have surely felt the tension of a nonverbal grappling match thinly veiled by amicable small talk. Oh dear, you got me there. So, are you an otherworlder, Kelvin-kun? Look at this crafty old raccoon dog slipping a heavy question into the conversation like it's nothing. I had already revealed my identity to Clotho and Gerard beforehand. Although rare, otherworlders weren't entirely unheard of in this world. Gerard said that he himself had met a few back when he was still alive. The most well-known example would be the group of 4 pretty boys and girls that Melfina had recently transmigrated as heroes. If I ever have the chance, it might be interesting to take a peek at them. After several rounds of maneuvering back and forth through various undertones and double meanings, I was left quite exhausted. The original purpose of me going upstairs had been to receive a reward, but instead I'd ended up in a bit of a bind. I cursed this unlucky day. It was only thanks to nerves of steel that I had been able to maintain a poker face the entire time. Otherwise, my expression might have given everything away at the start. Isn't it against convention to probe into an adventurer's personal details? So you aren't denying it? What is this guy's aim? Seeing that my guard was up, Rio exhaled softly. I apologize, that was a rather rude method of questioning. I can't really say, don't worry about it, but I'd love to know the intention behind your questions. Rio took out a cloth from his chest pocket and began to polish his monocle. Ange-kun has already reported to me on the matter regarding Cashel. From what I've heard, you then went on to defeat the Black Spirit Knight by yourself, correct? Or, no, to be exact, you did so with your followers? You are a summoner, yes? So you did see my status. What is it you want, exactly? Let me say this right off the bat. I have no intention of becoming your enemy. I would appreciate it if you would listen to what I have to say without that misunderstanding. I want to form a cooperative relationship with you, if you're willing. Tell me more. Rio invited me to take a seat and I complied. Let me start by explaining how I came to the conclusion that you are an otherworlder. You also possess Analyze Eye, so I assume you already know this, but I possess Analyze Eye at rank A. By the way, it was actually 3 days ago that I took a peek at your status. Ange-kun mentioned to me that a very promising newcomer had shown up, so I took the liberty of confirming from the shadows. 3 whole days ago? The skills that I saw out on the streets were rank C at best, so I thought I'd be safe enough raising concealment to rank B. Who would have thought I'd be found out in such a short time? Doing things half-heartedly really is my worst weakness, isn't it? My king, please pull yourself together. Your status would have been exposed eventually, it's hardly something that can be concealed forever. What's more important is to find comrades with whom you can share your secrets. We will also do everything in our power to support you as best we can. I suppose that's true. Well, might as well listen to what Rio's got to say. I really am blessed with wonderful followers. When I saw your status, many questions arose. Primarily, the issue of your level being extremely mismatched with your class and the rank that your skills were at. Even the greatest of prodigies couldn't pick up summoning at your level, let alone so many other skills on top of that. The only possible explanation was that you hailed from another world and arrived here already in possession of those skills at level 1. Kelvin Kuhn, you need to realize that your stats are on par with rank S adventurers over here. What he says is correct. In that case, I suppose there's no point in keeping up the facade any longer. As you surmised, yes, I am an otherworlder. From the sound of it, you've met others like me in the past? I was there when the Holy Empire of Deramus summoned their heroes not long ago. Deramus and the heroes again. Melphinus seemed quite reluctant for me to get involved with them, though. Did you know all along that Cashel and his flunkies were criminals? Why did you let them get away with it? In regards to that, I owe you an apology. Cashel was a noble, a member of the Foz family from the country of Trison. There is a lot of red tape when it comes to handling foreign nobility. I was in the process of gathering the necessary evidence to do something about him. Cashel was a noble? Well, with that appearance, I suppose I can see it. I guess nobles have a lot of authority in this world. At least, that's what I had been doing until, just the other day, I received news that he'd been disinherited because of some problem that he'd caused. Perhaps his title had something to do with it. In any case, I was about to make my move when you appeared, Kelvin Kuhn. What wonderful timing I chose, huh? Naturally, if you had been a normal, run-of-the-mill newcomer, I would have stopped you from facing off with him. However, your status was, well, it was what it was. So I bet on you being able to pull it off. What would you have done if your bet had been wrong and I'd ended up dead? Ah ha ha, sorry. This damn raccoon dog. His gentlemanly demeanor is totally a front. Come now, please don't make that face. As recompense, here, I am padding your reward with a bonus, and I'm sure you're also going to like the terms that I'm offering. That's the cooperative relationship part that you mentioned earlier? Let me hear the specifics, then. The Oracle of Deramus was sent a prophecy, based on which she decided to carry out the hero summoning ritual. According to the Oracle, the Demon Lord's resurrection is near. It's hard to tell if the two are related or not, but monsters all over the continent have been growing increasingly more ferocious of late. So, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Black Spirit Knight that you fought was much more powerful than it was supposed to be. Whatever it is that's happening to all the monsters, I suspect it happened to that one as well. This should have been a rank D quest, but the number of casualties was far too high. The trouble is, no matter how powerful these newly summoned heroes are, they can't very well run all over the continent, protecting everyone from powered-up creatures like these. Above all, we need them to focus on their biggest responsibility. The Demon Lord. Aha, I think I'm beginning to see where Rio's going with this. You want me to address the threat that overpowered monsters pose to this city in place of the heroes, right? Much to my chagrin, even our guild is short on fighting power. We might not have a single high-ranked adventurer in this entire area. We are always desperately in need of those who can take on rank B quests or higher. The area around Parth was generally peaceful, with most monsters being fairly low level. That was likely the main reason no high-ranking adventurers stayed long-term. Cashel and his merry friends had been the strongest in town, after all. The sudden appearance of such a powerful monster in the ancient castle of evil spirits, so close to Parth, must have left Rio in quite a predicament. In short, I want you to take on the quests that other adventurers in our branch cannot handle. You will be paid the appropriate fees, and the guild will provide you with as much support as it can. Of course, if you consider a quest beyond your capabilities, you are free to decline it. To be blunt, I'm thinking that it would be a terrible waste to let someone as talented as you remain in the lower ranks. In other words, you will raise my adventurer rank as a special exception, but I will retain full rights to accept or decline whatever quest one want. That's exactly right. Forgive my bluntness, but those terms sound too good to be true. Honestly? A summoner like yourself would be welcomed with open arms and given the greatest reception no matter where you went. It's the same for the Adventurers Guild. We are hoping to have you rise up quickly in our ranks as an outward display of your association with us before you get pulled away by anyone else, Rio explained apologetically. As I've done so far, I will keep your abilities and otherworldly origins a secret. If you agree to work with us, I will guarantee your freedom. You need a shield to protect you from getting caught up in the tedious power struggles of the nobility, don't you? He's already seen through me that far? Well, if those are the terms, I have no reason to refuse. Very well, I accept. Let's work together from here on out. Both Rio and I stood up, sealing the deal with a firm handshake.